I'd like to thank everyone here who's came out to protest, as well as everyone who has come out to speak. Now, a lot of people think that just because we didn't enter World War III this week, that we don't have anything to worry. They're wrong. We're still involved in far too many wars. And I did have to rewrite my speech last minute because I was expecting, at this point, for us to be staring down the barrel of World War III. So give me just one moment. I want to say that war is a racket. It always has been. It is possibly the oldest, easily the most profitable, surely the most vicious. It is the only one international in scope. It is the only one in which the profits are reckoned in dollars and the losses in lives. General Smedley Butler said those words nearly a century ago, and it's only fitting that here in Butler, Pennsylvania, I echo them. In the 94 years since he said that, only 15 of them have been without a war. You heard me, 15. I was born in 1996, right after we finished lighting up Serbia. By the time I could walk, we were lighting up Yugoslavia. By kindergarten, we invaded Afghanistan and only just recently pulled out. There are adults right now buying drinks legally who have never known America to be at peace. Not once, not even by accident. Today, we're still shooting in Somalia. We're still skulking through Syria, still blowing up dirt and dreams in Yemen. And now we're flirting with disaster in Iran and Gaza. And for what? So Lockheed can buy another yacht. So Raytheon execs can toast champagne over charred villages? The neocon death cult calls it security. I call it blood dividends. And these pay out in corpses, not just dollars. They talk like we're all in on the spoils, like we all split. But where's my check? Oh right, it went to a missiles contract. Meanwhile, the people getting vaporized overseas don't even get a vote. And the ones coming home in boxes, their families get folded flags and silence. Look, I don't care if you're a socialist, I don't care if you're a capitalist, or just broke and tired. Tell me, honestly, that you think bombs are a better investment than hospitals, or roads, or tax cuts, or literally anything but war. But every time, they sell us the same lie. This war will make us safer. This time it's necessary. This time it's different. It never is. It's always the same PowerPoint presentation with a new country circled in red. Trump is still floating regime change. So let me teach you a little bit of history. Let's swing back. 1918. That was the first time the U.S. tried regime change. They demanded that Germany give up its monarchy to get peace. Look what happened 20 years later. Goose steps, swastikas, industrial genocide. Great job, America. And every time since, everywhere we've tried it. We've tried it in Africa. We've tried it in Asia. We've tried it in the Middle East and South America. Every time it turns out the same. We get rid of one monster. 3 worse ones take his place. Every single time. They sell us liberation, deliver chaos, and the only constant is the money keeps flowing upward and the blood keeps flowing outward. This isn't foreign policy. This is a Ponzi scheme with predator drones. Foreign aid. Every year, Washington, D.C. writes checks like it's got the money printer fused to its war drum. Foreign aid, signed, military bases across 80 countries funded, weapons to Israel while Americans live, paycheck to paycheck, locked and loaded. I don't want to pay for anyone's war. Not Israel, not Ukraine, not a single one. How the hell are we trillions in debt? But somehow there's always loose change if we just dig around in the couch cushions to find money for a new missile battery in Israel. Since when did being an ally mean you get a blank check forever? That is not friendship.
Woo!
That is a hostage situation with a better PR.
Right.
And they say it's for shared values. Cool. How many of those values involve bulldozing homes and airstriking refugee camps? Is that the liberty we are exporting? Because if that's what your tax dollars are paying for, you just got drafted into somebody else's occupation. And this isn't just about Israel. It's the whole damn system. We send weapons, we send dollars, and in return, we get dead kids, radical blowback, and lobbyists writing our foreign policy. Here's the truth. Foreign aid isn't charity. It's corruption in a business suit.
Woo!
It's your money laundered through Congress to fund someone else's war. And they have the nerve to tell you we can't afford to help our own people. We can't fix the roads. We can't pay down the debt. But we can afford to bankroll a nuclear-armed government that spies on us and slaps our hand every time we ask where the money went. They call it aid. I call it welfare for warlords. I call it subsidized apartheid. I call it taxpayer-funded terrorism. And I personally don't want to foot the bill for it. Not one more dime, not one more drone, not one more drop of American blood for foreign sand. My view is simple. No more stolen money. No more forced bloodshed. No more entangling alliances. Trump, Mike Kelly, and John Fetterman all want to support Israel. Cool. Write them a check with your own goddamn money. But don't force me to co-sign your foreign crusade with my wallet. It's time we brought every soldier home. It's time we stop giving our money to people who spread fires rather than put them out. And it's time we remember that fighting for freedom starts at home. It's not in the deserts of Gaza. It's not in the trenches of Ukraine or the war room of Tel Aviv. It's here. Thank you.
Woo!
Now, I would just like to introduce our next speaker, John Thomas, former senatorial candidate for Pennsylvania. Great friend of mine. We campaigned together a good bit last year. And yeah, thank you for coming out, John. I greatly appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Justin. Way to kick this thing off. I appreciate it. I appreciate all the organization you put into this. And I came out here to talk to people who are all about action. It was the fact that you're all about action that brought you out here tonight. And I appreciate that. We're people who are fed up with the current state of the country and the current state of the warfare. But this is nothing new. This is nothing new. If we go back centuries or even millennia, what we have are situations where people sacrificed others to the god of their state. So when barbarian tribes would take over lesser tribes, one of the first things they would do is sacrifice the 12-year-old virgins from the tribes that they took over to the god of rain. And if you were to question this, you would be told, how dare you question it? Don't you know we need rain? And besides, if we don't kill their 12-year-olds, our 12-year-olds will die of starvation. And we don't want that. Now today, the gods might be different. Instead of a god of rain, we serve a god of safety. But the the talking points don't change. We saw these talking points during COVID. You have to give up. You have to sacrifice for the God of safety. And we hear it every single time the war drums start to be pounded. If we don't bomb their kids, then our kids will be bombed. Sound familiar? It's the same story after millennia upon millennia. It's the same story. And if you question it, you'll be again told, don't you care about our kids? Don't you care that Iran is going to have nukes and they're going to nuke us? Hello, there's only one country on this planet that's dropped nuclear weapons on others, and it wasn't Iran. There's only one country in the Middle East that has nuclear weapons and has been lying about it. And it ain't Iran. So, they'll also, whenever you point out that we sacrifice to the God of rain, and yet the drought continues, they did not say, oh, you're right. Maybe there is no God of rain. Or maybe if there is a God of rain, that God doesn't want us to sacrifice these 12-year-olds. No, no, no. They would not say that. Instead, what they would say is, we didn't sacrifice enough. And we hear the same thing today, don't we? Yeah. Whenever we bomb a country, and instead of getting safety, we get blowback, what do they say? We didn't bomb enough. It's the same thing. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with that term blowback, what that is, believe it or not, when you drop bombs on people's families, they don't tend to sit back and be like, oh, well, yeah, I guess we were in the wrong there. No, that's not what they do at all. They get angry. Imagine if somebody were to drop a bomb on your family, you would probably get angry too. And a lot of times that anger results in violence. That is not an excuse for the violence. That is no more than if somebody catches his wife cheating on him and then commits murder, that doesn't justify the murder, but it sure as heck explains the murder. So we need to look at what motivates these people, just like we want to look at what motivates a murder. And a lot of times what motivates them is our actions. So, there are positive actions, there are negative actions. And again, we're out here as people of action. So I want to talk about the concept of action. And I want to go back to my favorite economist, one of my favorite economists. Yeah, I'm nerdy enough to have several favorite economists. But Ludwig von Mises wrote his magnum opus was Human Action. It was like an 800-page book with a 2-word title. Human Action. It was all about what makes us as humans purposefully act. And there are 3 things, 3 conditions, 3 criteria that must be met in order for humans to act. The first is a dissatisfaction with the status quo. And I know that you guys are out here tonight because you are dissatisfied with the status quo. The second is a plan to change that status quo. And the third is a belief that that plan would work. So, it doesn't matter if the action that we're talking about is a small action, like maybe you want to stand up and walk across the park here to grab some water, or if it's a big action, like you want to organize an anti-war protest that's going to lead to peace and prosperity across our land. The conditions for action are those 3. A dissatisfaction with the status quo, a plan to make it better, and a belief that that plan will work. So, let's start with a dissatisfaction with the status quo. The person who gets up and walks across the field to get a glass of water, he's dissatisfied with his present thirst. People who are out here tonight are dissatisfied with the endless wars. They're dissatisfied that we're spending trillions of dollars on a bloated military while many of us cannot afford to own our own homes. We're dissatisfied that we're lied to repeatedly with the same lies over and over again about weapons of mass destruction. Yes, we are dissatisfied, and we're here to say no more. But it's not enough to be dissatisfied. We need a plan. We need a plan to make a difference. So I came out here to offer a plan. And that plan is Defend the Guard. Now, Defend the Guard is basically a piece of legislation that says that the National Guardsmen cannot be deployed in a state of war unless there's a declaration of war by Congress. And let me tell you that Congress is they're a bunch of cowards. They aren't going to declare war. They haven't declared war since World War II. That doesn't mean we haven't been in wars. Obviously, we've been in wars, but they're too cowardly to attach their name to the war in case the inevitable happens and the war goes south. So, right now in the Middle East, about half of the men and women of America who are stationed over there are National Guardsmen. These are people who signed up to defend their national security. It's not called the Corporate Interest Guard. It's called the National Guard. But instead of guarding the nation, they are guarding corporate interests. They're guarding corporate interests in the Middle East. They're guarding weapons interests. They're guarding big oil interests. They're guarding big pharma interests. They're guarding a lot of interests that aren't our nation. So Defend the Guard returns that back to the state. So that's a plan for action. But it's not enough to just have a plan for action. So we might have the guy who is dissatisfied with his state of thirst. He makes a plan to walk across this park to grab a bottle of water. But if somebody tells him that that water over there is seawater, and instead of quenching his thirst, it's going to make him more thirsty, he is not going to act. For him to act and get up and walk across the land, he's got to have a belief that his plan will work. That belief is often what separates action from apathy. So if he were apathetic, he would say, you know, I am thirsty, but the water's way over there, and I'm way over here. And besides, people are always going to be thirsty anyways. What can I do? So a lot of times the plan falls through because there's not the belief that you can make a difference. So, can Defend the Guard make a difference? Well, I don't want to get too down on this person who's apathetic, because I get it. I understand apathy. When we look at the state of Washington, D.C., it's easy to get apathetic. Year after year, we're told we have two choices. We have a Trump Republican whose foreign policy looks exactly like an Obama Democrat. And we have an Obama Democrat whose foreign policy looks exactly like a Trump Republican. And they say, see, you've got a choice. You have no right to complain. The one side is funded by the weapons manufacturer Raytheon. The other side is funded by the weapons manufacturer Lockheed Martin. See, you got a choice. The one side wants to start their war in the morning. The other one wants to start their war in the afternoon. The one side is funded by J.P. Morgan. The other one is funded by Bank of America. It doesn't matter what side wins the winner is always big money, big weapons, and big war. Over and over again, those are the winners. So, it's easy to be apathetic on the national level. But what Defend the Guard does is it takes the war-making powers from Washington, D.C., and returns it to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Because whenever it's Harrisburg that has control over the National Guard, we have more control over what goes on in Harrisburg. So we are in more control of what happens. So we can actually starve the war state of their guardsmen. And that takes away the human resources for their wars. It causes them to let down their guard. And that's how we defeat the warfare state. So, do I believe, because that's the third requirement, right? We've got dissatisfaction with the status quo. We've got a plan. But do we have a belief that it will work? Well, let me tell you about earlier this year in the state of Virginia. Virginia is a lot like Pennsylvania. They call it a purple state. And oftentimes you think a purple state has purple counties, but that's not how it is. You look at Pennsylvania, we've got deep red counties and we've got deep blue counties. And that's the same with Virginia. They've got the deep blue counties in the north, close to Washington, D.C., and then a lot of deep red counties. And they brought Defend the Guard to their House of Delegates. And by a vote of 99-0, Defend the Guard passed. Can we do the same thing in purple Pennsylvania that was already done in purple Virginia? I believe we can. So we can make this happen. We have a plan. We have a belief that it will work. So how do we make this happen? What I want you to do tomorrow, get on the phone with your state legislators. Get on the phone and tell them you want them to support Defend the Guard. Now let me tell you something about state legislators. Sometimes they'll go days without a phone call. Just the other day, one of the state legislators was arguing with me about something on Facebook. It wasn't even my state legislator, it was another one. And I was like, my goodness, don't you have other things to do than to argue with lowly old me? Well, maybe she didn't. Like they might not. So call them. If we have dozens of you calling on the same day, it's going to make an impact. But don't stop there. The following Monday, call back. Because tomorrow when you call, they will say they've never heard of Defend the Guard. And I don't make it a habit of trusting politicians, but when politicians are admitting their ignorance of something, yeah, you can probably trust them. So, tomorrow call, then the following Monday call back. And whenever you call back the following Monday, begin with a thank you. Say, thank you for researching Defend the Guard. They may not have, but you've already put it in their books that they're going to have to say, no, you got me. Whatever I said that I was going to research that, I was lying to you. They're not going to say that. So they're going to be like, oh, yeah, I did research it. You're welcome. And then put them on the spot. Say, can I count on you to defend our National Guardsmen and defend our national interests? Who's going to say no to that? Who's going to say no to, can I count on you to defend our Guardsmen and defend our national interests? So, step one, you call your local representatives or your state representatives. Step two, you call them back a week later. And step three, share what you're doing. Share what you're doing. Share what you're doing with your friends who you see in person, your friends on social media. The Butler Eagle, you can share what you're doing with them. Share what you're doing. Let people know what you're doing. And that is how we make a difference. Now, Some may say that speaking to an anti-war rally is preaching to the choir. Well, it's Sunday, and I went to church this morning, and we started with our worship band on stage, and they do a great job. I love our worship band. And after they were done playing, our preacher didn't get up there and say, "Great job, guys. You can go hang out somewhere else now. It's time for me to preach." He did not say that because he knows that the choir needs preaching to. We all need a message of hope. I believe that there is hope in Jesus Christ, and the choir does too, so they stuck around for that message. So maybe I'm preaching to the choir, but you know what? Sometimes the choir needs preaching too, because I want you to go out and sing your song. Sing your song of justice. Sing your song of peace. Sing your song of truth. And go out and make a difference in this world. All right, and next, Ken gave me something to say to introduce him, but he's a man who really needs no introduction. Ken has been great. Ken has been a steadfast defender of liberty as long as I've been in the liberty movement. I've appreciated Ken. He's been a member of the Libertarian Party since 1993. That was before I could vote, Ken. He's run for public office 10 times. 3 record-breaking runs. In 1998 against Tom Ridge, in 2002 against Ed Rendell, and in 2018 against Tom Wolfe. And he is currently seeking the Libertarian Party's nomination for governor again in 2026. So, outside of politics, Ken has been an entrepreneur in the technology field. He has been a talk radio show host. He has been an inventor, author of several novels, a graduate of the, Abington Citizens Police Academy, Appalachian trail hiker, whitewater canoeist, father, grandfather, and I can't believe it's on here, but Ken is a Toastmaster. As a matter of fact, Ken got me to join several of our local Toastmaster meetings here in. Well, they weren't that local for me. They were here in Butler, because Armstrong County doesn't have one. But he's currently camped out at Keystone State Park, and we're honored to have him here with us tonight. Please join me in welcoming the next governor of Pennsylvania, Mr. Ken Krawchuk.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, John. I'm not sure I could have written one better myself. Let me start off with a little bit of honesty. I'm not paying attention to the wars. Not at all. My grandparents emigrated to the United States, legally I must add, from Ukraine. My father's Ukrainian. I got a good Ukrainian name, Krawchuk. Krawchuk. When I tell that to people, they say, "I'll bet you stand with Ukraine." I look at them and I say, no, I don't stand with Ukraine. They'll take a step back and say, "Oh, you stand with Russia." No, I don't stand with Russia. I stand for peace. I stand for your right to live your life your way, providing you respect the rights and property of others. Woo! The war in Ukraine is not respecting anybody's rights or property. But I'm not paying attention to it. I don't care how it got started. I don't care how it's going to end. I'm a Pennsylvania guy. My focus is Pennsylvania. It was mentioned in the Middle East. There's all these wars going on. Is there never a war going on in the Middle East? All the time. Do I follow those wars? No, I don't follow those wars at all. Number one, I have no stake in there. Not even the stake of a grandfather and grandmother who came over from Israel, who came over from Yemen, who came over from Hamas, or this place. I don't pay attention. It's not my problem. It's not the United States problem. It's a mess. They've been fighting in the Middle East for thousands of years. You're going to step in the middle of that battle? What's going to happen? John Thomas mentioned blowback. We already had that with 9/11.
Yes.
You don't think they flew those planes into the building because we're a free country? Bull! No. They're there because we're picking on them. We're wading into a bar fight where we have no reason to be there. None at all.
Right.
Do we have a problem? Yes, we have a problem. But the question becomes, what do we do about it? It's one thing to point out a solution, but more important than solving the problem correctly is to solve the correct problem. A lot of people are going to say, oh, we've got to stop bombing these people. Oh, we've got to stop getting involved in these wars. No. Well, yeah, but how to do it? I want to make it personal. As was mentioned by John Thomas a little earlier, it's not just the United States that's fighting. There are people in that war who do not belong there. I'm talking specifically about the Pennsylvania National Guard.
Right.
Woo. Now take a look at that. You see their advertising? They come out for a weekend a month, 2 weeks in the summer. There you go. Defend your state. Boom. What they do is they take that 2 weeks, it turns into 2 years in some foreign country, not defending Pennsylvania. Think of the possible blowback from this, not from somebody outside, but somebody inside. The past couple of weeks, there's been a lot of unrest because of the activities of ICE, the immigration control people. They're taking illegal aliens, people who have no right to be here, no legal right to be here, and they're deporting them. A lot of people are taking that and they're turning it into a sideshow, like Black Lives Matter. Instead of defending what they believe in, they set cities on fire. They chase people down, they smash other people's property. And I own a Tesla, so this hit home with me, although nobody's ever touched my car. Not yet, anyway. I'm a Philly boy, born and raised. I know Philadelphia. And I know that this unrest can easily spread to Philadelphia. And I like our Philly cops. I'm a graduate of the police academy. I know what they can do, how they can do it. I'm a big supporter of stopping that unrest. But what we just saw in LA is that it was too big for the cops to handle. What do we do in that case? Bring in the National Guard. This is the role of the National Guard, is to defend the state when things are going south. I recall in 1972, Hurricane Agnes. I was a refugee. I was stuck 200-300 miles from home. 10 days I was there before I could finally get home. Do you know what's the best friend I had out there? The National Guard. Because they were there helicoptering in food. They were keeping track of all the people who were out there. The National Guard is a wonderful thing. If the unrest breaks out here, though, in the Keystone State, all of a sudden we notice, oh no, all of our National Guardsmen, they're 2,000 miles away, 3,000 miles away. What are we going to do? We have to prevent that. We have to take control of that, and there is a way to do that. That is one of the reasons I'm running for governor of Pennsylvania, is to bring some sanity back to the state. And the easiest way to do that is with the bill that John had referred to, Defend the Guard. Woo! I proudly wear a Defend the Guard pin because I will defend the Guard as governor of Pennsylvania. Woo! That's because the Constitution of Pennsylvania gives me the authority, quote, Article 4, Section 7 of the Pennsylvania Constitution. The governor shall be commander-in-chief of the military forces of the Commonwealth, except when they be called into actual service of the United States. Makes sense to me. Since I'm number one, I'm going to say no. No Pennsylvania Guardsman leaves Pennsylvania, period. Woo! Now, there is an escape clause for the feds. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 15 of the United States Constitution says, and I quote, the Congress shall have the power to provide for the calling forth of the militia to execute the laws of the nation suppress insurrections, and repel invasions. That sounds good to me. I enjoy that. Except it says one key word in there. Congress, not the president.
Right.
Why is the president unilaterally going and bombing places around the world? And they all do it. It's not a Democrat thing. It's not a Republican thing. It's not a red thing. It's not a blue thing. What I want that to be is a gold thing. Gold being the color of the Libertarian Party. I would like to see us implement Defend the Guard legislation to stop the drain of our all-important National Guard. We should defend the Guard at all costs. I don't want to give a solution here without words, so I have here a copy of the law that I would like to see introduced when you call your state reps and state senators, like John Thomas suggested. This is the law that you'd be supporting. I'm going to read from it directly, word for word. Short title. This section shall be known and may be called and cited as Defend the Guard Act. Woo! The findings. The legislator finds that Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution vests in the United States Congress exclusively the power of war. In spite of that clear language of the United States Constitution, vesting the power of war exclusively in the United States Congress, the United States executive branch has unconstitutionally assumed that power, while the United States Congress has abdicated its constitutional duty. Although the United States Congress has not declared war in over 70 years, the nation has since gone to war repeatedly at the whim of the executive branch, at the whim of the president. When such unconstitutional actions are taken by the federal government, it is the proper role of the states themselves to take action to remedy those situations. Definitions for the Act. For the purpose of this section, active duty combat means performing the following services in the active duty military service of the United States. A. Participation in an armed conflict. B. Performance of a hazardous service in a foreign state. Or C. Performance of a duty through an instrumentality of war. Second definition, official declaration of war shall mean an official declaration of war pursuant to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18 of the United States Constitution, made by the United States Congress. Woo! And finally, Section D, notwithstanding any other provision of this code, the Pennsylvania National Guard and any members thereof shall not be released from the state into active duty combat unless and until the United States Congress has passed an official declaration of war or has taken official action pursuant to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 15 of the United States Constitution, which would explicitly call forth the Pennsylvania National Guard and any member thereof for the enumerated purposes to expressly execute the laws of the nation, to repel an invasion, or to suppress an insurrection. Finally, the governor shall take all actions necessary to comply with the requirements of this section. As governor, you have my promise I will do exactly that. Thank you. I will do everything in my power to make sure that Defend the Guard stays in Pennsylvania. So we're not going to write our congressman. We're not going to talk to our U.S. senator. We're going to take away the lifeblood of their army by not giving them our young men and women to fight in some overseas location. Woo! Defend the Guard legislation will do just that. And I shall be the person, as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Pennsylvania, I'm going to be the ideal person to do that. So I'm asking you, please, vote for me, Ken Krawchuk, Libertarian for Pennsylvania Governor. Because if you keep voting the way you've been voting, you're going to keep on getting just what you've been getting. Wars. Our sons and daughters sent overseas to die. Lies. Made up excuses for wars. I don't know about you, but I have had enough. Ken Krawchuk, Libertarian for Pennsylvania Governor. As my shirt says, KenKFPA.com. We'll see you there. But you know, it's going to be a tough row to hoe because the two old parties, I'm going to quote my Uncle George Carlin. He says, It's all one big club, and you and I ain't in it. I'll tell you, George has never spoken truer words. Whether you look at any of the branches of government in Pennsylvania right now, we are getting hosed over. Just take a look at the legislature.
Hey, we'll see you guys.
They have set things up such that it is next to impossible for anybody outside of the two old parties to get elected. Now, let me give you a great example. In the most recent election, state reps and state senators, over 100, more than half of them, there was only one opponent. There's only one guy running. What is it, Soviet Russia? You don't want to put up with that kind of stuff. The reason why is because they are afraid of the competition. They've set things up such that you and I are paying for their candidate selection process. It's called the primary election. And they've closed us out of it. Some people say, oh, we should open up the primary. No! That only encourages them. We libertarians pay for our own candidate selection process. The communists pay for their own. The two old parties should be doing that too. And it's not just one candidate, these communist elections. They set it up so that in order for any independent or third party to get on the ballot, they have to get 2 times, 3 times, 10 times as many signatures, even though Article 1, Section 5 of our Constitution says all elections shall be equal. I guess some people are more equal than others. Man, oh man. So the legislative branch is pretty much lost to us. But the judicial branch? Ha! That's even worse. They've lodged themselves into our Constitution in no fewer than 21 different places. They have a monopoly on the practice of law in Pennsylvania. If you try and practice law in Pennsylvania, they're going to come for you. They're going to fine you. They're going to throw your butt in jail. Because they put it in our Constitution, 1968. Just populated all over the place. Like any monopoly, the costs are outrageous. $500 lawyer. Why are you paying $500 for a lawyer? Because it's a monopoly. Because they told you so. You've got no choice. If you try and make a choice, they'll throw your butt in jail. So not only is the legislative branch lost to us, so is the judicial branch. But when you look at the executive branch, it's not much better. Who do we have right now? Joshing Shapiro. I call him Joshing Shapiro because that man lied to me in writing. He used to be my state representative. And back in 2005, 2006, we were trying to get a bill passed which would make it easier for third parties and independents to get on the ballot. He said to me in writing that he supports that bill, that he would vote for that bill. And when they come up for a vote, you know what he did? He voted against it. That's why I call him Joshing Shapiro. He's not qualified or worthy to be a governor. Worse yet, he is a member of the Bar Association. He's a lawyer. He's in 2 branches of government at once. And he was a state rep. All 3. Does what he wants. Doesn't care. But there's a loophole. There's one section in the Constitution, Pennsylvania Constitution, which gives the governor the power of the line item veto. That means that anything in the bill that I don't like, before I sign it, I can cross things out. Let's start with that special interest known as the 2 old parties, having you pay for their candidate selection process. Well, I'm just going to take my pen, veto that line. Gone. Do you know that Pennsylvania gives almost $500 million a year to horse racing? I hope you're not a horse racing fan because with my line item veto, gone. Any place I see special interest spending, unconstitutional spending, like those unconstitutional DUI checkpoints. I have personally worked DUI checkpoints, and none of the people who got taken away in handcuffs, none of them were drunk. And the one guy who was drunk the first night I was there, his dad came and drove him home. One by one, all of these unconstitutional things, all these special interest things, gone, 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 gone. And with the savings, I'm going to eliminate the Pennsylvania personal income tax over the course of my 4-year term. Woo! Woo! Thank you. Man, oh man. So many other things I can do as governor. Now, one thing a lot of people don't know is that we libertarians pull equally from left and right. That means me as governor, I could be the difference between something getting passed and something not getting passed. And you can bet your bottom dollar that anything that I support is going to be in favor of you, in favor of your right to live your life your way without interference, provided only you respect the rights and property of others. This is the future I hold out to Pennsylvania, eliminating special interests at the source by getting rid of their funding, eliminating wars at their source by getting rid of the young men and women who are out there fighting it, getting rid of at the source how these lawyers have taken over the system. All sorts of ways of getting around it. But you know, people say to me, Ken, get real. You're not going to win the election. Oh, not true. Look at the numbers. In an off-year election like the governor race in 2026, turnout we're expecting to be about 30, maybe 40%. If you crunch the numbers, you'll find out that all it takes to secure a Libertarian victory is for 1 out of 6 voting-age Pennsylvanians to vote for me, Ken Krawchuk, Libertarian for Pennsylvania governor. 1 out of 6 is enough to stop their tricks. So if you're sitting there at lunch with 5 buddies and they're all saying, oh, this guy Ken is an idiot, that's enough to make a difference. Just you. From each 1 out of 6 that you can tip, we're looking at a brighter Pennsylvania, a brighter future. One without all the nonsense, without sending our sons and daughters to die, without catering to special interests, giving the money back to people who earn it, you. So please, vote for me, Ken Krawchuk, Libertarian for Pennsylvania governor. Woo! As I said, if you keep voting the way you've been voting, you're going to keep on getting just what you've been getting. Wars, special interest spending, and your life not as your own. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, I got my mustache stuck in my grill. That's great. Had to put it back on before stepping up here.
All right. So we're just about to wrap this up, and I'd like to thank everyone who did come out today. Thank you guys so much for taking a stand against war. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate both of our speakers, and myself, I guess. I'll include myself here. I greatly appreciate all 3 of our speakers for coming out, just spreading the message. Hope you all have a great rest of the night.
Yay!
Woo!